Whether you're just delving into the world of voiceover,
You're an established voice actor,
or you just want to listen to some unfiltered thoughts and opinions about the industry.
then this podcast is for you.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Jen, and this is the Off Air Podcast.
Three.
Hello.
Hello. All right, I was trying to do a countdown then. Talk about behind the scenes.
Oh dear, I massively jumped the gun.
Yeah.
But welcome to the
Welcome.
Off Air Voiceover Podcast.
Episode 2. Here we are. We are.
Episode 2.
Today's the 27th. Big day today. Oasis have confirmed
Yes.
the reunion.
The chats are abuzz.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm a huge Oasis fan as a kid in the 90s, well, the 80s, but 90s when I was growing up. So I'm desperate to go and see them because I never got to see them. But I'd like to try and get a ticket for the early shows just to be sure I get to see them because these two kick off all the time.
Oh God,
So
you
there's
think
a
Mike,
fear-
like, oh my God.
There's a fear that like, yeah, we know we've buried the hatchet, and then that's fine in the build-up. But then when they actually do the gigs, and it becomes tiring, and you're with each other, they're the very things that push them apart in the first place.
Oh my
So, like,
God.
try
Are you
and
going to try
get a
and see
ticket.
them in Manchester?
Yeah, because they're doing Heaton Park
Right.
over 2 weekends. I think it's like mid-July and then the weekend after.
Yeah. Those would be the best gigs. I just would in
I can't
Manchester.
wait.
Yeah.
I've always wanted. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. So
Yeah,
that's-
I like Oasis, but I'm not going to be. Is it Saturday morning? They're live, and I don't think I'll be.
Saturday morning.
I thought it was Saturday. They went
It's
live.
Saturday, not in the morning.
Oh.
Going to Heaton Park with a brew and a biscuit. Like,
No,
long,
I
long-
meant the tickets go live.
No, concerts generally are later in the day.
No,
you know?
when do the tickets go
Unless
live,
it's
Michael?
CBBS.
Listen, when do the tickets go live?
They go live, I think they said the 31st. It's next week.
Saturday morning. That's what I'm talking about, not the
Oh,
actual gig.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
oh sorry.
Oasis.
I thought you might go to the gig. You're there at Heaton Park at 8 in the morning with your camping chair and a flask.
Passing around the hot dogs. Okay,
funny.
no.
How's your week been?
Yeah, a bit bemused.
How's your week been?
How's my week been? Same. It's the same juggle. Still on some holidays. And had some really nice time with the kids, but I am being pushed to the limits. And my voiceover career has massively stalled over the summer. Massively. Yeah, it has, because I've just not put the time in. I don't have the mental capacity, I think, or the actual literal time. But I'm just trying to think, it's okay. Just try and survive, and then a couple weeks time we can start again. But I am properly going to have to start again and just really work my ass off once they get back to school. But there we go.
Well, we talked about this last week about sort of
Yeah.
In fact, actually, there's something I wanted to mention. I forgot. So obviously last week we talked about like the downtime, navigating the quiet periods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mentioned about how you see these online gurus and they give you these ridiculous routines. And ironically, one of the things I was saying, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I do this, I do that, and these sometimes put pressure on people to set unrealistic expectations on ourselves. And I said, I think sometimes these routines that people try and set out that you need to follow in order to be successful can burn you out and be counterproductive.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. I don't take away for a single second the importance of hard work. You've got to put the out, and that sometimes that does look like getting up at silly hours in the morning, working till late at night. That's just a given. But we came off the recording and went on, and literally within about 15 minutes of recording, Paul Schmidt, the American VO.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic. I love what he does as a VO, but as a coach in his YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
He releases a video, and it basically said, "When this is why you're not succeeding. It's not AI. It's not this. When maybe it's because of you. What maybe you have to get up at 5. It literally said some of the things that we called out. You have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to send these emails at 11 o'clock. I was like, we've literally just called out all this. But the difference was what Paul is saying is true. If that's within your own remit, you set, like when I started out, I'm sure anybody who sets something out, you've got to put in those hours. That's just a given. But you do it within your own parameters. I was strictly referring to people giving you a copy and paste formula that you're supposed to copy that doesn't meet your own.
People burning themselves out. You just literally can't do everything.
Yeah.
So it is, not putting too much pressure on yourself to do all of that to someone else's time schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were saying
I might look at that though and find
have a look at it. It's a great video. It's very sort of thought provoking. But he says as well, if you work and you go 9 to 5 and you come home and you have to do that. And I obviously said I had a brief stint of an experience of doing that at Christmas time, and I was exhausted, but you know,
Yeah.
you just got to do what you got to do.
That's
But
the
I just
reality
found
for a
it,
lot of people.
yeah, I just found it
Yeah.
ironic after we came off. But the conversations were slightly, it was referencing similar points, but the conversations were largely quite different in terms of what I was talking about,
Yeah.
what he was talking about. I was talking about, you know, like I say, these influencers, and I think sometimes they can put too much pressure on
Some
someone.
of them are knobs as well. Let's just face it. You can't get
Yeah,
around that.
but that made me laugh. But interesting as well yesterday. So something else that crossed my mind. We were watching. Have you noticed now on Amazon they've started inserting adverts when you watch something?
I've not seen.
So like Disney Plus started this thing where you can have
Yeah.
a lower membership for £5, but then they do
Yeah.
advert, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. And Netflix as well. If you're paying for a lower
Yeah.
fee, you know the ads are getting inserted. But then Amazon on Prime,
Mm.
they started doing it anyway on your normal membership. Now, I've not fact checked this. I can't remember. I think you may be able to pay a couple of quid more and get them rid of them.
Yeah. I just cancelled my subscription, so I haven't got
But
Prime anymore. But
if you're paying for the normal Amazon Prime, the
yeah.
regular rate, you know, they've not offered a low rate with ads. They've started,
Yeah.
and at first I was like, fucking ads, but actually, from our perspective, that's actually
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good because the thing is, I think TV commercials as a whole are a dying breed.
Mhm.
Because if you look at like, do you watch much terrestrial TV now?
No.
It's apps in it. If it's not
Yeah.
iPlayer, it's
Yeah.
Amazon, Disney,
It is
Netflix.
Netflix. All
Actual
the apps.
normal
Yeah.
TV, I think is, and
Yeah.
to
We don't have
advertise
a
on
Sky anymore either, so it's
it
like
costs a fortune.
Yeah.
To advertise on TV, it costs a fortune, and they're at a time where it's really expensive, and they've got much lower viewership, much lower. That's fact. So on the one hand, where I was like, oh, TV commercials, you know, if you get a TV commercial, it's great, but actually, if adverts are being pumped in on these different levels as voiceovers, that's good for us because it means
Yeah.
that medium of commercials is
Yeah.
only going to remain, and also. Gav from Kahlua posted this thing on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and it was a statistic from Radio Today, I think it was, and it basically said that radio listening is at its all-time high, roughly 50 million a week. So again, for us, that is just
Yeah.
an absolute
It's amazing.
sea of work
Just
for us.
wish you could make a living on just radio.
Well, I think it's one of them in it where I think I agree because obviously with it being equity rates and stuff, they are, you can make money off them. I think
Oh yeah.
the juicy spot is to try and find a niche that you can be called upon for regular work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get
Definitely.
quite a few. Like a few weeks ago, I think I got from Bauer in the space of about 3 or 4 weeks. No, not 2 weeks. I got 4 ads, which is the most I've ever had in a 2-week period.
Yeah.
Normally it's like 1 a month, maybe 2 a month
Yeah.
at best. So I was like, wicked. Let's keep. And it was
Yeah.
like back to school stuff for the colleges or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
So it was just a little stint because of a specific reason, like a build up to it. But I
And it
thought,
helps you make you feel connected, though, I think.
yeah, but it obviously played in my mind. I was like, if you can do that on the regular,
Yeah. But
you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
there's still like, so I did all the co-op insurance ads this year and last year, and those are good gigs because it's national. They are very, very nice to do.
Yeah. But for today's little episode, I have got something I thought could be quite fun. And obviously, people
Okay.
listening along, they obviously can't hear you, but I think people of VOs who listen will inevitably have their own input as to this. So, as part of doing my all my new websites, my new website
Oh
is
yeah.
now live, manchestervo.co.uk.
Do.
And as part of that, I put together a blog. Now, I've made it abundantly clear many times, I don't have a very great creative brain. Like, I can't
I
come up
have
with
to
all
say
these.
though, like blog is a good shout. Like I know it's one of the things that you should be doing to help with the SEO.
Right.
But yeah, not always easy.
So, like, you see some content creators, they can put LinkedIn videos up every day and Instagram videos every day. I really struggle with what the topic of conversation would be. Like, what's the purpose of the video? And I don't want to do something that's. Anyway, so just utilize the tools that are around you. Like, so ChatGPT, open, hello, welcome world. So I just put into ChatGPT blog ideas for a voiceover, and one came up, and I thought that would make an interesting conversation. So one of the topic ideas, it said, let me find it. Top 5 mistakes to avoid when hiring a voiceover artist. I was like, okay, let's
Okay.
go on a deep dive. So I thought, let's play with this. So I thought let's go through the 5 mistakes and let's actually see what it's come up with, and then based on our experiences, whether that's how true that might be.
Yeah.
You up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Mistake number 1: choosing based on price alone.
Yeah.
So I think with that, I get it. Mistake picking a voiceover based on the price alone.
I think that's an awful. Yeah,
I
absolutely,
get
it's a
it.
huge mistake. It's a huge mistake, though.
The things with that is right. When we like, okay, so we're in a time now where everything's a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna pick somebody, okay, if you've got two VOs, I'm saying, right, I'll do it for 200, I'll do it for 150. The 150 isn't necessarily a worse VO though. They're just
No.
maybe being a bit more business savvy and trying to get the deal over the line.
Oh, it's so complicated though. It
Do you
is
see
so
what I mean?
complicated. I know it is. And like, thing is, like, people do sometimes have like a set budget. So when they say like, this is the top we can do, this is all we can stretch to, you get that, and that's
Yeah.
just life, isn't it? Of
Yeah.
course, that price is going to have a part to play, but that isn't always a business savvy thing for a VO to do, though, is it? Like,
No.
I think there was some research. I think it's Voice 123 guy, Rolf, is it? Or people did some research around this, and in terms of like what buyers were going for, and they didn't go for the bottom end. They didn't go for the person who was selling themselves the cheapest, because they were like, well, like us, like anybody, they were like, oh, if it's a bargain price, there must be something wrong with it, or
Right.
it's a bit inferior. So they kind of went with middle to higher, or some. I can't remember the stats. I should have probably look it up before I'm quoting it. But it's not always the best plan to kind of try and bottom things out. I mean, it's not anyway, is it? In terms of the industry.
I think taking the voiceover element of it away and just think of
Yeah.
ourselves as consumers,
Yeah,
right? As
exactly.
us buying stuff.
Yeah.
If somebody gives me a rock bottom price, for me, ordinarily it's a bit of a red flag. Like, why is
Yeah.
it so massively cheap compared to
Yeah.
everybody else? Is there
Yeah.
something wrong with it?
Yeah,
Is it broken?
100%.
Is it faulty?
Yeah.
You bring the voiceover element back into it. If somebody says, "Oh, I'll do it for 25 quid," is that because they're desperate for the
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
can't book anything,
Yeah.
desperate for that first credit? I mean, I don't know.
Or
I
they
think
don't. Yeah, they don't have an idea of what the industry standard is.
right. So definitely on that scale of it, if it's like alarmingly cheap, then I think that can ask more questions than it answers.
Yeah, it's like if you go to the supermarket and you're looking for shampoo, say, and you're looking at all the shampoos, and you've got like the budget price one, and then you've got the fancy ass one. Like the
Yeah.
budget one, you're like, I don't want to go for, unless you have to. You're
Right.
probably going to avoid the bottom end.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
probably going to go somewhere middle
Yeah.
to higher if you can afford it.
That's it. Because if you go to Boots, right, and you see a shampoo and it's like Herbal Essence, £2.50. Boots owns like, am I gonna get a rash? Like, you know what I mean?
It's 60p.
Yeah.
What's but I mean, but also then I don't know, because the whole marketing thing it's a quandary.
So I think, yeah, it's a good point. I do think if you are going to book a voiceover, I do think your price point matters, but
Yeah,
definitely,
it does matter.
as the saying always goes, know your worth.
Yes,
Don't be
100%.
afraid of charging the
And I
correct
think
fee.
something that I'm thinking about as well is when VOs put their BSF up, and I think people should seriously consider that after a certain amount of time. But it's like coming into the industry and like positioning yourself and doing that respectfully of the industry, not being like, okay, so my BSF is going to be 100 quid because I'm new. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you're providing this, you might not be quite as good, but you're providing a lot of the same product, aren't you? So it's difficult. But I think what's crucial about that, and I've opened up your blog as well now, it says, choosing based on price alone. The alone is a really important factor there, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think like I've put on my website, because I think something people always look for is how much does it cost? And I was one of these people where I was afraid of putting a fee on there.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to deter people. But actually now I've done it. I've said, look, and rates vary for a broad different spectrum of reasons. But however, keep it simple. And I've just put, if it's an internal video, about 90 seconds, expect to pay about £200.
Yeah, because I saw that and I was like, oh, that's because I probably charged £250.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It gives you a
personal.
baseline to put.
Yeah.
And at first I was like,
I think it is helpful. And I think who does that really well is Katie Flamin. Anybody who doesn't know Katie, check her out. She's amazing voiceover and businesswoman and many other things. But she has like whole videos of her pricing structure, and I think they're extremely helpful. And at some point, I hope to copy hers, how she does it, because I think it's really well done. Because you are trying to think about who you're serving. So if they're coming to the website, they want some indication. Because it's like anybody who goes, if I'm going for coaching or anything else, I want to get some idea of how much it costs.
Yeah.
Am I wasting my time by looking at it?
Yeah.
I want some indication. I think it's a really good shout, Michael.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that putting some sort of rate guide on there is necessary or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that for me, it was like, it's okay putting, because I think if people come in there expecting to pay 30 quid for that same work, I'm quite happy for them to see that figure and be deterred.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my time. Do you know what I mean?
Not for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Similarly, I've also put on there, I am not by the book. You know, I'm very sort of I've worked for myself since 2008. I know how it
Yeah.
works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think having a guideline on there, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about
100%.
alienating the people that I don't want to attract anyway. And Steph said
Yeah.
that herself. Like she, made a perfectly good point and opened my mind to that a little bit. So, but at the same token, yeah, know your worth and be okay to charge that. But in terms of them saying, well, they're too expensive. Well, too expensive on what grade? Like, were
Yeah.
you
Too
expected to
expensive
pay?
for you. Move
You
along.
can't
I
expect
think,
to spend
yeah.
50 quid for that voiceover. It's
No.
worth 200
Yeah.
quid. So is
Yeah.
it too expensive or you're being too cheap? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we could keep going on about
I
this.
know.
So we'll
Right.
move on.
Next
Just keep it
one.
going. Mistake number 2, ignoring experience. Now, this is an
Okay. What do
interesting
you mean
one.
by this? Well, let me have a look.
So essentially saying booking a mistake of booking a voiceover artist is saying ignoring the experience of a voiceover artist. So by my interpretation of that is booking somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
Okay.
But here's the reason why this is why I thought it was interesting to talk, because
Yeah.
everyone's got to have a day one. Like if you think
Yeah.
about the jobs you booked at the very, very
Yeah.
beginning, I know I can't listen to them now. It's like, oh my God. But we all have a day one. We've all
Yeah. Of
got to,
course
I
we
always
do.
say,
Of
you've
course
got
we
to
do.
be a bit shit to be a bit good. It's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. I
So
think, yeah. Sorry.
I
Carry
was
on.
just going to say, so the idea of ignoring experience, yes, having someone who has experience is very beneficial, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you should ignore people who are brand new.
Oh no, definitely not. And I think I was thinking this the other day actually, like my I don't think I've been as good. I don't think my auditioning rate is as high right now as it has been. And I think when I started, I did extremely well. Like by some magical, I don't even know how I did it, but I landed a lot of roles very quickly. Not a lot, but in terms of the rate, it was very
Yeah.
good. And I was very new when I started auditioning and was somehow lucky and they did a good job. The clients were pleased. They've had me again. But yeah, it's difficult with experience. But yeah, I mean, you do want to try and get some experience. But I also think about that, the ignoring experience. We've all been in those sessions where you do you do a read or you do what you're being asked to do, and you think this is going to sound absolute shit if I do it this way. And you could think, okay, it's fine, I'll do what they ask. But then you say, actually, can I just try it doing it this way? Like, can I give you an
Yeah.
offer if
Yeah.
you've got time? And you do, and they're like, you know what? That's amazing. I'm going to use that one.
Yeah.
And so, like that, you're bringing your own experience, aren't you, to it as a voiceover artist with experience? You're bringing that to the session.
Yeah. Yeah, you just you just reminded me as well because I remember my first session. Yeah, like there was a couple of times at the very, very beginning where I was like, they've asked me to do something, and I've just looked at them like, what are they going on about? And obviously, if you don't know the sort of the
Yeah.
if you don't know, you don't know. But that doesn't make you any less of a capable voiceover.
No, and you're doing
You've got
what
to start
is
somewhere.
their choice, isn't it? And yeah, I don't know. Like
Well, I was up front, sorry
Yeah?
to interrupt, but at the beginning, I was up front. I was like, listen,
Ah.
I wasn't like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just said, I'm not quite as experienced in this area, and just gave them
Yeah.
an idea of what they were dealing with. That was like a polite way. When, sorry, mate, I haven't got 'em."
Yeah.
So, but no, I think, yeah, ignoring experience, I think is quite a. I don't quite agree with that. I think you need having someone with experience inevitably is beneficial for various different reasons, but ignoring someone without experience, if that is another roundabout way of what it's saying, I disagree with, because I think, thank God for the people that gave us a chance, who booked us when we didn't have much experience.
I do think somebody with experience brings a lot more than just. They just bring everything else, don't they? And often, like, the sessions are quicker. Like, my sessions are quicker now. I can get to what they want quicker, and because of just practice and through experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is a difficult. Nothing is black and white, is it? But I did a voiceover recently for a client that was really cool. I think I mentioned this last week. I'm never going to hear it, basically. But there's one line they asked me to do in a certain way, and I was like, really? Are you sure? And did it, and it was just, to me, it hit my ear in such a way. I was like, you can't be serious. You cannot be using this. And they're like, no, we're really happy. And there's about 4 of them on the line, but I'm never going to hear it, and I'm never going to hear how that line worked. And anyway, I'm going to die not knowing whether that.
I know. I'm going to do a you now. I've just been conscious of the time, and we've still got 3 to go, so we're going to have to try and move through these a little quicker. Okay, number 3. Overlooking the importance of equipment.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
This is a big
I think we
one.
can both get behind that.
That is a given. I don't care how experienced you are. That is a given. That is an absolute necessity. You know, you can have the greatest microphone in the world, but if you're recording in a terrible environment, it's just not going to fly.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely not. And you see some like auditions now and they say like, do not record on a phone, or like you cannot, it needs to be, so we can hear that you have professional environments as well. And some say it's all right. But the actual recording itself, yeah. Best mic in the world is going to sound like a piece of crap, isn't it, in, you know, a cathedral or something.
Can you remember what was your first recording setup?
I can remember. It wasn't that long ago. It was quite similar to what it is now. Well, I actually have managed to get something quite quickly, but I was clueless when I first started. But just through getting people to help, like Rob B and people like that, to listen to stuff and get feedback. But mine had to put it up and take it down every time, because we're using the room as like a study and a bedroom and all that stuff. And my goodness, it's nice to have a permanent spot now. But it sounded good. I was quite lucky. It did sound good straight away.
I remember my very, very first microphone was a Blue Yeti.
Right.
It was bought for me. Excuse me. And I recorded in this office that I had at the time. Zero acoustics, loads of echo. I wasn't trying to do voiceovers per se. I wasn't doing any auditions live. I was really just practicing and stuff. But acoustically, it was like no. And then thereafter, after I left that scenario, I went to a Rode NT USB microphone, and I ended up buying an Aston Halo Shield to help with the acoustics, which really I liked. I liked it a lot. The problem with it is that it gives you no room for a script.
Yes, you
because
like
you have this. So what you do is,
I've seen them. They're cool.
Yes, you have to. So it's kind of like I was kind of unless. So basically, you have like a slider for the microphone to go deeper into the shield, but then obviously, where's your script going to go?
Yeah, how does I mean, there must be a way of doing it, but I don't know.
There must, So I was like, hang on. So I've got to move my head,
or hold like something
to the
in front
side
of it
to read the.
Yeah.
But it was such a tight space. You can't put paper there because of any rustling. The phone won't really sit there. I mean, it's. I'm sure
they
people
must do, because obviously they must sell all of it. But we can both agree that is an important one to not make.
I could go on.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll move on. Number 4, failing to communicate clearly. Yeah, this is definitely a big one.
Yeah, that is an constant, ongoing problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had it before where there's two angles. I'm sure many other VOs listening to this will agree. Now, sometimes you can get if you get an audition directly, largely it comes filled with information.
Yeah.
P2P's different. Yeah. Sometimes you get an audition on a P2P and it'll just be like, here's the scripts, this is what I want. It's like no direction at all, no reference to what kind of tone they want. And it's a bit annoying because then it's like, okay, well, I'll do something. But what if you gave me a little bit more information, I could have got it right for you. And instead, you're going to get 30 auditions that are just going to be all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to waste their time.
Help yourself.
But then maybe they don't.
Maybe
they're not experienced.
Right, but I think in terms of if you're going to ask a VO to do a job, I think it always helps if you can just give that little bit of information as to what tone you want. For those that don't do it, most of them do. I always say it always helps if you've got any sort of a visual aid is helpful, but music for me is the biggest one.
I think a lot of VOs would agree with that.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker.
It's rare. It's rare, I think.
Yeah, I can work very happily off a little bit of a description, but if you've got music, emotionally,
it makes a huge difference. Like sometimes I'll get a radio ad and I'll be thinking, okay, this is quite like a sensitive, slightly somber read, and then they play the music and it's like this, and you're like, what? That is not how I imagine it. So you completely have to change your read to fit with the music.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, when I did my
I'm not sure what that music was.
Let's
move on from that.
Creepy circus. I remember last year when I did my commercial reel with Jude and Simon at V Audio. Initially, we went through the scripts, and Jude and I, the first script we did was like one of those Nike-esque.
Oh yeah, cool.
Scripts.
I've got one of those.
Behind everything we do and all that sort of stuff. No, the original approach to that was a bit more gritty. It was a bit more passionate. It was a bit more.
Was it Batman voice?
It wasn't quite Batman voice, but it was airing on. It was more Robin than Batman.
That's a very different voice.
So that was the plan going into that script. But on the day, Simon was like, "Actually, no, the music is actually way different to that." I thought it was going to be more cinematic, orchestra. So I had this all built up in my head, but on the day, Sam was like, no, it's got more upbeat tempo. So I had to change it completely. So again, it's one of those things. So my initial approach to that script, he was like, we did it, was like, okay, but I'm not sure that tone will match the style that we're going for. So yeah, so I think having those musical cues make a big difference.
I think,
but they're not deal breakers.
no, and I always think in terms of communicating clearly, time frames are really useful. If you want, like, just let me know when, and I can try and fit around it. If I can't, I'll let you know. But I think that's really helpful to know a time frame, because otherwise I'm panicking, or be like, because so often jobs need to be done quite quickly, don't they? And they're like, oh no, not 2 weeks, it's fine. You're like, what? This is so, but if you don't know, then you don't know.
Yeah, because I have it sometimes. Like, I'll get a script and they'll say, can we have it back by Friday? They give you ample time, and they're like just quick, smaller scripts.
Yeah.
But then I've had some where it's 2,000, 3,000 words. We need it back in 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's like you really need to allow yourself a bit
and you're
more
probably
time.
gonna have to pay a bit extra for that if it's. But
yeah, it's like you have. Sometimes I think I hate that sort of arrogant misconception that why does it take so long? You're just talking into a microphone. It's like, deep breath,
you're not my only client as well. It's like, I want to just, we've got to make the ends meet. Also, can I just add one last thing to this before we move on?
Yeah.
P2Ps, you audition, you never hear back. That is the game. You understand that. But I feel like if somebody asks me to audition for something and I audition and I never hear back, that makes me feel sad. I would love it if they just said, and I know not everyone will agree with me, but if they just came back and said, well, sorry, we've gone with a different VO, it can be cut and paste. But that if they've asked me to audition for something, and I know there's only going to be like a handful of us going for it because of that, then I would love just to have that closure. I know some people won't want that because they're like, well, then they feel the pain of that every time the rejection comes in. And you do move on very quickly anyway, don't you, as the nature of the game. But I just would love that because it feels like it's more personal. Because they've asked me. Yeah,
but listen. I don't agree nor disagree with you, because I think in one respect I feel like you kind of just answered your own question, because getting that feedback, does that make things slightly worse for momentarily? Like, is not knowing better?
No,
because you've sent it out.
That's what I'm saying. It's not better for me. I just want to know and move on. Fine. It's just part of it, and you move on anyway. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but some things when you've really worked at. And they've asked for it, and it just doesn't even need to be like feedback on the performance. It's literally like, I'm sorry, in this instance, we've gone with the VO. Yeah. Anyway,
there are times where there's jobs where I've been so passionate, I thought, oh God, I've smashed that one, and then I've not got it, and I was like, and that's disappointing. But you have to just, accept that you weren't right for it, whether you felt you might have been or not. You weren't creatively right for it. And there's times where I've not heard anything, and then I've heard the final ad, and I was like, you know what, I can understand why they went that way.
Yeah, different route.
So sometimes I just prefer, just let it be, you know what I mean? Don't just
But then, so I went
down.
for quite a big job recently with a client in the US, and I didn't get it, unfortunately. But they took the time to let me know, and it was more of a personal response, and which I just didn't expect, and I really appreciated, because, they said they want to work with you another time, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so it was nice, because it doesn't often happen. Anywho...
Before we go to number 5...
I love the fact that 5 is the title of 5. Carry on, before we go to 5.
I think it's time to launch
It's time!
our new feature.
Da, 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 da.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Voiceover of the Week.
I feel like it's a working title, but still...
So, as you may have recognised from, or remember from last week's episode, we said that we were going to do this feature. Now, the very key thing to know about this, is there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no preferential treatment. There's no suggestions. There's also no big sort of search party process in terms of looking for something. It's just literally a case of, as we go through social media, for people that we know or follow, if something comes up in our feed and think, you know what, I really enjoyed that voiceover, it's that just really to give props to that person. That's it. There are going to be countless other pieces of work.
I don't think we need to worry as much about offending people. Everybody is adults who are listening. We're all big boys and girls.
Yeah. So, so this one is one that I came across. It's by the wonderful Mr. Drew Campbell.
Whoop, whoop.
And Drew has done a voiceover for the Mind charity. Now, I'm going to play a brief segment of it in a second. There's 2 reasons why I love this. The first one is because his voice, Mind obviously being a mental health charity, it needed something that was obviously like quite reassuring in tone, and something like, I don't know, just something you felt sort of reassured, like a safe. But what for me, what really sort of made it my sort of preferred thing I've heard over the last couple of days was Drew's personal story behind it. So on LinkedIn, he put a post on basically explaining about how he himself has had some mental health challenges, and Drew's an absolute soldier, because some of the stuff he talks about in his post, he's been through a lot. And when you combine that backstory with listening to his voice, I just felt that emotion and truth massively came forward.
Authenticity.
Right,
Definitely.
there you go. So,
and when I think, because you played it to me as well, and I think the one element as well on top of that, it just sounds really human, and I think it really does. So it's a lovely piece. It's like a corporate script. So anyway, we're going to share a portion with you now, as Michael says.
I'm going to just share a quick, brief segment of this audio.
You'll have the opportunity to talk openly about the issues that are affecting you. We're here to listen and support you. We'll not tell you what to do, but we can offer options and a range of other support.
Well done,
So,
Drew.
it goes on. It's a minute long. I won't play all of it. It's there on Drew
Check
Campbell's LinkedIn page.
And he said Insta as well,
Yeah,
didn't you?
so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
Good work,
Drew, hats off to you, mate. I thought that was a really heartwarming, emotive piece, and that's one that stood out for me. So for me personally, voiceover of the week.
Lovely stuff. Can you stop screen sharing now, Michael?
I can.
Lovely. Well done.
Right,
that
so
was fun.
next week it's your turn. You've got to find something now.
I know
next
people
week.
need to keep sharing because it's still
Yeah,
very sparse.
It
on
was
my,
what I said last week.
We were saying that, weren't we?
I only looked through Instagram last time, and I scrolled for like 25 minutes before, because I tend to leave it to the last minute, because otherwise, new stuff comes
It's
out.
also
Like, right,
our
we're
personality
recording.
to leave things to last minute, I would say.
Right, yeah,
It's not
like
making an excuse for that.
Like, yeah, you got a house to build by next week, so don't worry, I'll start on day 6.
Right, what made me laugh about this before was the mistake number 5 is rushing the process, which absolutely feels so apt right now.
Rushing the process, which is my life in a nutshell.
Okay. Rushing the process.
So, mistake number 5, rushing the process. Now, hang on, did that say it's not recording? No. Mistake number 5, rushing the process. Again, I feel like it kind of comes back to, what was the previous one?
What does this mean, rushing the process? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I didn't write these. I think by that, I think it means, I think it kind of goes back to before about sort of communication. You can't, if you give someone a 3,000 word script, say I need it in a couple of days, then it is going to be rushed. It doesn't leave much time constraints. But I don't know. I think maybe it means more than that. I think maybe it means more like. Well, yeah,
I think for me, what it means.
4 and 5 merge into each other.
What it means for me is adding voiceover to a video or a piece of work massively has an impact on the intention and the emotion behind it. It resonates with people so much more. So don't rush the process of finding the right voice and the right sound for it, because it makes a huge difference if you choose somebody who just does a bit of a crap job. If you've spent weeks and months working on an animation and it ruins it. So it is very important who you choose.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I agree. But I do think that, I think mistakes 4 and 5 kind of do really run into each other, because from a video creator's point of view, to sort of, as a last minute dash, try and get a voiceover in.
Because they spend so long on creating the video itself.
Yeah. Well, do you know, there's one of my clients who I work with, they actually say because I said to him, have you got any audio cues to go with it? He says, we actually do the voiceover first, give
Scratch
you the
track.
direction. Yeah, and then from your voiceover, we build the music around that. I was like, that is interesting.
Yeah, they do seem to do it in different
really
ways, don't they? But that is very good. So the timing of it does work around your voice.
So, in conclusion, by avoiding these common mistakes, you can ensure that you are having a voiceover artist who will deliver the quality and professionalism your project deserves. Thanks, ChatGPT.
Oh, Michael.
I've actually got.
But I do. It's interesting.
Got one.
It is interesting. I'll give you that.
I've got one thing about it. A little bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but I put one of the blogs is about why human voices will always be better than AI voices. And then what I did is I took an excerpt and I had to type that into ChatGPT. So ChatGPT itself tells you why human voice is better than AI voices.
Oh, wow. I've never used it. Anyway, we could talk for hours about ChatGPT.
We can. And the thing is as well, look, these are 5 prompts that came out and I thought they were interesting. There are,
I enjoyed chatting about them.
there are
Oh, there's so
There's
many.
so
of
many
those,
more
yeah.
as well. There's so many
Yeah.
more. So yeah, as always, when you hear this, we'll post the on
I
the
think it'd be
socials. If you've got
interesting as
anything in the
well.
comments.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I'd be interesting to do it from the other side, like mistakes of choosing like clients to work with, and like a lot of these would be similar, but it would be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I think this is a rabbit hole we're going to
Yeah,
go down.
but I would love to hear people's feedback on this. Like, what do you think?
Oh,
Massively
definitely.
disagree with us? Let us know.
Because
More to add?
as working VOs, we've all got our own individual
Yeah.
experiences of what we would say to clients in certain aspects. So this is by no means an exclusive list. It's open season.
Open
but
season.
That wraps up episode 2.
It was
We are
fun.
done. Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. So shout out to Drew
yes,
for
Drew,
providing the
our
voiceover
Thoughts are winging their way to
advert
you.
of the week.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoy. In fact, actually, you know what? I just remembered as well. Drew actually does something on LinkedIn where he gives shout outs to other voiceovers
Oh, what a legend.
each week. So I think it's quite
Yeah, that
fitting
is
that
fitting.
our first one
Is
is
man
actually
himself.
Drew because he actually gives a lot back. So that
Amazing.
was just purely coincidental.
Yeah.
But next week,
Who's it
yeah,
going to
it's your turn
be?
to find something. Yeah.
Please share.
Yeah.
And also
Okay,
make
so, right,
sure
well, that's
Vox
it.
Awards are still open. Make sure you are putting your entry in.
No, by the time this goes out, it won't be open.
All right, then forget it. You've missed your chance. It's next year.
You missed it. You messed up.
Oh, what
Gone.
a joke. All right, we'll see you next week
All
then.
right. So that'll do.
Bye.
Thanks, folks. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week on the Off Air Voiceover.
See you then.
Don't know why I did that. It's really nice. See you.